and we'll hear from Andrzej Ostrensky. He's Associate Professor of Animal Nutrition and Dairy Science at the Pontifical Catholic University of Paraná, and he's in charge of the first research farm in Brazil. So Andrzej, I'll share presenter rights with you now so you can share your presentation, and sorry for the 2-3 minutes I took off your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello everybody, thank you for the invitation, Nico. It was really a pleasure for me to talk here and to participate on that. It's really very interesting initiative. Well, I'll talk a little bit about robotic milking in Brazil, and a little bit what we are doing in the university. So let's go. So my name is Andrea. I work in the Pontifical Catholic University of Paraná in southern Brazil. I'm professor of dairy nutrition and dairy science, and so to share with you some experience we have in Brazil with robotic milking. To understand a little bit better, it's interesting to share with you some figures about Brazilian dairy production. Brazil is the 4th or 5th biggest world producer, but we have a lot of cows with very low average per cow. And the production is very concentrated in some areas of the country, especially in the southeast and in the south. And even in the south, in the west part of the region. And it's very different all over the country. In general, Brazilian production is very based on small farms. As you can hear in this figure, it's excuse you, I have to excuse, it's an old figure, but I didn't find a newer one. In this case, it shows that 90% of the farms at that time produced more or less 1/3 of the dairy production. And in the other extreme, 1% of the total farms produced around 1/3 of their production. And what they call here 400 kilos per cow per farm per day. So it's a small farm. Of course, it's changing a lot. I'll talk about a little bit about that. To have an idea, the milk price for the farmer at this moment is around 35 cents of dollar per kilo. In our area here in the south, it's close to 40-41 kilo, the best price for the farmers. But it varies a lot, so it's there is a huge seasonal effect on price and on milk production in the price also. The historic higher price are in the end of our winter time in September and August or September, but it's changing. And the lowest price in after the summer in February or March. But maybe this price, just a little bit back in the price, this price should be higher comparing to other countries, but really, I believe it is. But by the other hand, the cost of milk production is very high also. This example for an average farm with 30 kilo cows per 30 kilo of milk per cow per day, it's around 13 US dollars per cow per day. And the concentrate feed is responsible for more or less 70-75% of all its cost. And the income over feed costs is around $8 per cow per day. Maybe it looks like high, but we have to remember the other costs we have are very high also. So the margins are not so good for the farmer, especially at this moment. It's the beginning of the summer, so milk prices are down, and the average on the farms are getting lower also in this moment. So the summary in our country, we have mainly small farms, but average size of the farms are growing very fast. It's all over the country, but especially here in the south. We have high milk price comparing to other countries for the farms, but we have also very high costs, especially for feed, especially for labor and a little bit for electricity. These one are the three main costs usually, especially for more intensive production. Brazil participates just a little bit on the international markets, so we export a little bit, or sometimes we import a little bit, but mainly of our production is for internal markets. So we are highly dependent on our own demand. And the economy in Brazil was a little bit bad in the last years, but nowadays it's becoming a little bit better. It's improving, so the consumption is improving. So we believe the price will be better next year. Considering all the country, we have just few companies paying by milk quality, especially in the southeast. But here in the south, it's a little, it's better. We have some cooperatives that pay for milk quality, so it's important for the farmers to pay attention in somatic cell counts, bacterial count, milk and fat composition also. And even in the south or in the southeast, we have a lot of competition with other agricultural activities. Here in the south with soybean production, corn production. In the south with in the southeast, excuse me, with coffee and soybean also. Orange production depend on the area, but there always a huge pressure for other agricultural activities. So the farms need to improve, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Talking about robotic milking in Brazil, the first farm was in Castro City. It's placed 150 kilometers far from here, with a farm with two VMS from Laval. Actually, we suppose there are 120 robots operating in Brazil. Here, its figures are usually very difficult to have these figures, so we have to talk to the people, to the companies to estimate this number. De Laval has close to 80 robots operating at this moment, and probably 120 already sold in Brazil. The second one is Lely, Gare, and Robotic. It's a small numbers comparing to the other countries, of course, but 2 or 3 years ago, probably we have just at the time 20 or 30 robots. So in the last 2 years, the number is increasing a lot. So I believe it will keep growing in the next years. Some figures are from De Laval, but we believe the other companies has something like that. The average is only 2 robots per farm, 130 lactating cow per farm. And De Laval, biggest farm, has 6 robots per farm in one farm, and 35% of the farms have just 1 robot. Regarding the cow traffic, milk first is around 40% of the farms, feed traffic 35% of the farms, and feed first 25% of the farms. When we talk about the facilities, most of these farms are based on compost barn. This increasing Brazilian production is based on compost barn. It's becoming very popular because people believe they are more comfortable to the cows. We believe that the cost of construction close to the freestyle barn here it demands a lot of management of the beds and so on. but it's increasing a lot, and most of the robotic milking are based on compost barn. Regarding the freestalls, some of them are brand new, like ours in the university, and others are old ones that were adapted to the milking, to the robot milking. Here in the south, we have all over the country, have a lot of farms producing milk on grazing system, but regarding robotic milking, it's just beginning. We don't have a representative number, very important quantity of farms with grazing, but we believe it should increase in the next future. The main breed for Brazilian production, dairy production, is crossbred Holstein and Zebu cows. They compose most of our herd, especially in the southeast. But here in the south, there is a main Holstein cow herds, a little bit of jerseys. And regarding the robotic milking, there is a huge importance of Holstein. Some herds like this one in the picture are jerseys, and some are crossbred, especially crossbred between Holstein and jerseys. Nico asked me to talk about the production level. There is a lot of variation, of course. Some farms, I'm telling that about my experience. Some farms have something like 20 kilos per cow per day, but some farms close to 45, 48 kilos per cow per day, the best ones. Especially all of them considering almost a regular basis, not just in one month. And another very particular condition is that familiar farms represent around 70% of the farms in robotic milking in Brazil. I believe with other companies, especially Lely, the figures are close like that. I believe the biggest Lely farm has also 6 robots per farm, but we know that there are some projects for 10, for 12, for 15 robots in one farm. The main key drivers to decide the farmer to adopt to migrate or to install AMS systems are, first of all, labor. Labor in Brazil is very expensive. We have a lot of it's not a tax, but it's a kind of tax over the labor, so it's too expensive. Even we have a huge population, and we have still 15–18% of our population in the county, but the offer for dairy farms is very uncommon. People don't want to work on dairy farms. So in some areas where when this kind of people go to the farm to work, is that because they don't find another better job. So the quality of this labor is very bad usually, and we have a very serious problem of legislation. It's very complicated in Brazil to hire and to fire people. So this is a very important key to adopt an AMS system. Another point regarding labor is the quality of life. The farmers always say about that. It's important to improve, especially when consider the problems we have with familiar succession, because the younger don't want to work as hard as the father and the grandfather worked in the past. So it's the robot milking. It's maybe something to attract these younger people to stay in the farm. Another key, it's the need for efficiency. What's happening in Brazil, as I told you, the average size of the farm are very small, so they have to increase the total milk production, and they cannot do it. They need to milk 3 times or more, and they cannot do that in a regular milking system. So they're migrating to AMS. There is a huge need to improve the efficiency for using the feed, especially concentrate feed. As I told you, the cost is very high. So people need to improve the efficiency, and the farmers say that they believe the robotic milking is a way to get that. And they say that longevity and health problems are a concern, and they believe that robotic milking should improve it. It should be easier to deal with that. So they need to improve the efficiency, and they are adopting robotic milk for this reason also. And another one, some of them say that the robot milking associated with a good facility, they can improve cow comfort. They are worried about welfare. Here, as another country, we have a concerning about society, about welfare in cattle. So this is seen as a way to improve it. The key challenge for the new ones, the cost of the robot, it's too expensive for Brazil, but the regular milking system are too expensive too, the same way. It's important to say that in Brazil there is no subsidy to the farmers, so they have to count by their own, or in some cases there are some options for financing, but it's not always easy to get the kind of financing, because especially when they're small farmers, they don't have guarantee to the bank to get the financing. Well, for the farms that are using the AMS, the one challenge important is to change the mind of the people. I used to say that cows adopt to the system easier than the people. The people have a little some difficulty to understand that it's a different way to feed the cows, it's a different way to milk the cows, a different way to make the cows pregnant, a different way to manage the cows. So in our case, for example, the cows were very quickly adapted to the system, but all of the people, including me, including myself, it's a little bit difficult to understand in the beginning. So I believe this is one of the key challenges for the farms that are still operating. And another key challenge is the need to increase regarding this condition, financial conditions, milk price and margins. They're not so good, so the farms sometimes they don't have condition to improve, especially the small ones. In some areas, the farms are becoming too big for Brazilian standards. And in this case, some farmers told me that they don't believe robotic milking should be an option. I don't agree with that, but they say that they have to increase, they have to improve, but they don't believe that robotic milking should be an option. Well, talking a little bit about the university, PUCPR is a private university located in Paraná State, here in the south. We have 4 campi in the state, spread all over the state. We have something like 20,000 students. In the agricultural area, we have agronomy and veterinary medicine. I teach for both here in Curitiba. Our farm is Gralha Azul Experimental Farm, has a robotic milking on freestyle barn, a brand new freestyle barn. In the past, we milked the cows in a rotatory parlor for 20 years. And since last July, we began to milk the cows in the freestyle. It's a brand new freestyle barn with a Delaval V300 VMS. The capacity, the total capacity is around 70 cows. Actually, we are milking just 45 cows because last year we have to decrease. We have problem with crop to produce corn, to corn silage, so we have to decrease the number of the cows. And we have, after moving to the robotic milking, we have to take off some cows. And the average production on a yearly base is around 32, 33 kilos per cow per day. Nowadays it's around 35, 36, 37 kilos. Well, so we are brand new, so we began to do some research next year. At this moment, we submitted some 3 projects to the ethics committee. We are awaiting their approval. It's very difficult here in Brazil, especially here in our university. The ethics committee is it's very difficult to approve the projects. Even very simple projects, it's difficult to get them. We have 3 main areas to work. One of them is nutrition. Originally I work with nutrition. My master was on genetics, and my PhD was on nutrition, dairy cow nutrition. But in the robotic milking, we intend to study about the effects of some feed additives on cow behavior. It's important to remember that in Brazil it's allowed to use monizine, virginamycin, and so on, but people are concerned about that, and we believe that maybe someday we have to stop feeding to the cows. So there is an interest, growing interest. Farmers are already using, but we want to study the effects of some specific essential oils and some plant extracts on behavior of cows in the AMS. And another area is farm comparison. What we are seeing that here in Brazil, what we are seeing is that some farms are facing problems for management the cows. So they like to compare the figures, the numbers from the outgroup, and in this case, to study, to try to understand what's the difference and what's the similarities among the herds, to try to understand what should be improved. In another areas regarding mastitis, in Brazil it's still a problem. In our herd, the CCS is around 280. It's increased a little bit when we move to the newborn, but we believe it's a problem of our management on that. So we'd like to study the impact of our main mastitis agents on cow performance in the EMS. As I believe everywhere, but in Brazil, some farmers face the problems when moved to the robot milking. So we'd like to understand a little bit better what's going on. Well, in conclusion, I have to congratulate Dr. Nicholas for the initiatives. It was a really pleasure to work on that, to participate on that. Excuse me for English, it's a little bit bad. I hope to keep this experience as a net for change experience in robotic milking. And I'm open for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andre, for your time. As I said before, it's good to come up with an idea, but it's even better when you have a team of people like yourselves that jump on board of that idea and are willing to share your time, knowledge, and experience. So thank you for all that. It was a really good presentation. So really good. And a reflection of that is the questions that come through to me. So I'll tackle probably 2 questions if we have time. The first one is, you said there were small farms and that milk quality is an issue in Brazil. Do you see that farmers are looking at robots as a way to improve milk quality, given the consistency in teat preparation and attachment?
I believe so, but usually the farms that are moving to EMS, they already had good milk quality. Some of them, of course, not, but most of them are good farms, so they are still better. They are already better. They are already good farms. So it should be, but in the next years we have how can I say, there will be a huge pressure for improved milk quality. So maybe some of the farms are concerned about that, but not so much. I believe that the question about feed and about labor are stronger than milk quality.
Excellent. And it was interesting your point around legislation of labor and the pressure that legislation is putting on labor, and how can that drive interest and adoption of these and other type of technologies. The other question is, you said a lot of the farmers had compost barns. Are they
Yes.
farmers changing to compost barns by putting in the robots, or they already had the compost barns and they put the robots? And are they seeing a change in milk production when going to robotics?
Yeah, both cases. There are some new farms that they are moving, building compost barn and starting it with robot milking, and some farms are adopting robot milking for previous compost barn. The compost barn was very important. It's is already very important in Brazil because before that, most of the farms were semi-intensive production, so cows have a lot of problem with heat stress. And when they moved to the compost barn, the milk production increased a lot. So it's, I believe it's a very good combination, compost barn and robotic milking, especially for the cows, of course, for the farmers, and for the image the society have over milk production. It's the people see compost barn as more comfortable for cows than freestyle. Of course, it should not be, but as so the society is seeing that.
Excellent, Andre. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been an
Thank you
excellent
very much.
presentation. Thank you for your questions, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you for joining this event.
Thank you very much.